G'day, grade 12s. We're back, and I hope that you have gone through all the rest of the videos that we've done so far. And I hope you are ready. We're getting to the end of our paper. Okay, so today we're going to focus on question 5, the dreaded question 5, language. Okay, but after this you won't have to dread it, okay, because you will just be able to master it at the end of the day. But before we get there, we're going to do our recap. Remember last time we did cartoons, and we also did the advertisements, and I gave you some questions to go through, so I'm just going to go through some of the answers with you, just so that you can see and check with your work what you have done and how you've fared in that. Right. So if we look at first question there, quickly with analyzing a cartoon, it says there, describe Garfield's body language. Now remember what we discussed last week. We said body language refers to from the neck down, okay? Nothing in the face. The body language is all got to do with how you talk and communicate with your body. So we're going to look at his body language. So all Garfield is doing, he's standing still, and he has an indifferent expression on his face. You can also refer to this, but remember this has got to do with facial expression. And when they say your body language, and that is why it's just 1 mark, because basically they just want you to understand that Garfield is just there. He's not moving, okay? And then if we look at the next question, it says, why would the reader not necessarily believe John? And remember, we are still in frame 1. Why wouldn't they believe him when he says, a tree just fell onto my car? And obviously the reason for that is because his body language suggests excitement. His body language suggests that he is excited about it. His face, his mouth is open, he is smiling. His arms are outstretched, so he doesn't look like someone that's worried, that's stressed, whose tree has just fallen on his car. So obviously they won't believe him there. And then we go to frame 2. It says, why does the cartoonist use ellipses? And if we just go back again, and remember, this is a punctuation mark. It's an ellipsis. What is it that they mean when they use the ellipsis? The ellipsis there, it says, it suggests that Garfield is waiting for John to turn around after tapping his shoulder in frame 2, or the ellipsis can also suggest that Garfield's thoughts or his words are incomplete and still wants it to continue. So, John, here's what you do. So he's tapping him, okay, waiting for him to turn around. And then I'm just going to jump to some of the other ones. Let's just go to frame 3, why would walk be written in bold? Let's look. In frame 3, walk is written in bold. It says, walk to the store. Why is that written in bold? And there our answer would be, because obviously remember, Garfield is not talking to us. He's thinking it. So he's just emphasizing his thoughts that John has to, he has another option. He doesn't have to use his car. He can also walk his feet. He can also use his feet. So he's just trying to give him that option. And then I just want to go quickly to the, I'm just jumping because I just want to make sure that we look at try to cover everything. I want to go right to the last question. It says, do you think Garfield's behavior is acceptable in this cartoon? And substantiate your answer. Now let's go back and quickly see what is his behavior. Look at his face, look at what he says, okay? And then from there we can deduce, we can get the answer from there that you can either say yes or no, but remember, there's no mark just for yes or no. Yes or no must be followed by a example, okay? By a substantiation, by a reason, by a justification. So you can't just expect people to give you 2 marks for yes. Okay, so it's yes, Garfield has seen through John and knows that the tree has not fallen on his car. John just doesn't want to go to the shop, okay? He's just trying to avoid buying his food, and therefore his behavior is acceptable. Or we can then also say Garfield does not care whether the tree has fallen on John's car. He just expects him to walk. You must just go because you are my boss. You need to do this for me. You're supposed to take care of me, so you must go, okay? So that is the idea that we have. And there obviously you have your 10 marks. So the idea is that you look at everything that is being done, everything that is said in your cartoon, okay? Every frame, everything, how it's written, the verbal, the linguistic, everything you need to look at in your cartoon, and that is how you answer your question. And remember, you always, when they say refer to frame, you only speak of that frame. Okay, and I hope you fared quite well in that. Let's go to our advert. Remember, that was our advert, and like I said, you look at everything in your advert, okay? You look at the pictures, you look what is said, you look at the source, because all of those, they can ask you questions on that, okay? Everything in your advert does matter. Let's look at the first question: who's the target audience for this advert? And then you need to give a reason, okay? So don't fall in the trap of just looking at the first line and then you don't go any further. Then you forget that you must actually give a reason why you are saying it is that, it is for that target audience. So you look at what it says. It says energy on the go. There are different flavors, and they're talking about healthy snack. So who would this be targeted for? People who lead busy lives, people who are on the go, people who don't have time to have that quick breakfast in the morning, so they grab something healthy and they're on the go, okay? So it's people who lead a busy lifestyle. Why? Because they don't have time to prepare a nutritious meal, so they take a nutritious bar, okay? How does the headline, energy on the go, capture the reader's attention? Let's go back there and see energy on the go. If you can see there, it is written in bold letters. It is bigger than the rest of the words in the advert. And you also, the has a little arrow, meaning that it gives the people the idea that you can move. So those are all the things you can say as well. Why are the words loved since 1920 included in this advertisement? And obviously it gives the advert credibility, which means it has been there for long so people can trust it. It's not a product that has just come on the market yesterday, for instance. Okay, so these are the kind of things that you look at. And then we also look at how are the words light and portable intended to influence the reader. It is not heavy, you can just grab it and you can go. Okay, because portable means you can carry it, and the fact that it's light, won't need a lot of energy to do that. Okay, so the word suggests that it's the energy bar that's at license of feather, and therefore it is convenient for you to carry. I want you to look quickly at, and obviously those are the options that you have there for 3.5. If you look at 3.6 quickly, in your view, is the visual of the tiger effective in conveying the message of the advertisement? And then it says, substantiate your answer, okay? And remember I said you look at everything and sometimes maybe you don't even catch it, but there's the tiger, okay? And remember you look, there's a tiger, it says jungle, and you know you've read everything that it says. So in that way now, you'll be able to answer your questions. Is the visual of the tiger effective? And remember the visual we said is the photo, okay? And you need to substantiate your answer. Is it effective in conveying the message? So you need to understand what is the message that they want to convey, and then you can formulate your answer. Okay, so if you said yes, then you would say the visual of the tiger is effective because it is associated with being energetic, with being swift, because that is what a tiger represents. Okay, tiger is strong, it has lots of energy, it can move fast. Okay, so you need to be able to make that comparison. The visual also suggests that if one eats the energy bar, then you will be as energetic, as swift, as quick as a tiger. Okay, so you make that connection. You can also say no. You can say no, and then you can say the visual is not effective. The tiger has nothing to do with the product. They are advertising a bar, a healthy bar, and there's a tiger there. So you can say that, you can make that, but remember you must have your explanation for it. So here the answer, you can also have, the visual is not effective because it has a tenuous link with the written content of the advertisement. There isn't really that, it's a very flimsy link. Like I just explained now, it's a tiger and a bar, that's not the same thing. The visual appears to be a random picture and has nothing to do with the idea of energy. You can, that's why I say you might say, but how can that not have anything to do with energy, because a tiger has lots of energy, okay? So that is how I want you to go through it. So, and I hope you fared quite well. I want to move over quickly to our new lesson for today, question 5. And I want us, first of all, to make sure that we are aware of what's happening, okay? And these are the things we're going to focus on, the dreaded parts of speech, tenses, direct and indirect speech. Okay, so let's start away immediately. So we're looking at parts of speech, and I want you to know that this is a question that you'll always get the question, and what I also have on here for you is examples of the type of question that they can ask based on parts of speech. So what you basically need to know is that there are 8 different types of parts of speech, okay? You must be able to know what the function of each part of speech is, okay? So the idea is, how will you know what is the part of, how will you know what part of speech it is? The work that the word does in the sentence, that determines the kind of that determines the part of speech it is, okay? The work it does, the function it does in a sentence. So let's just quickly look at that. So we have nouns, they name things, okay? Pronouns stand in place of a noun. A pronoun is not a noun, okay? We have nouns, and remember there are 4 different types of nouns: collective nouns, abstract nouns, proper nouns, and also common nouns. A pronoun is not a noun, okay? A pronoun is a different thing. It stands in place of a noun. Then we have the adjectives that describes the noun, the prepositions that shows position and the relationship between 2 nouns, conjunctions, join things, okay? Join sentences, adverb, describe anything, okay, except nouns, and it adds to the verb, tells me something about the verbs. Interjections are expression words like wow, ow, okay, those are interjections. And then we have the verbs that obviously shows an action. Now, I just quickly want to give you an example. So there I have a sentence. Let's analyze the sentence then quickly. The exceptionally wise president presented an amazing speech. So if we look at each word in the sentence, then we must be able to identify the parts of speech. The is a definite article, okay, because it tells me a specific thing. Exceptionally is an adverb, okay. Wise is an adjective because it describes the president. Presented, obviously, is a doing word. Remember, how do you get to your doing word? You ask yourself, can you? Okay? And then that means that it is an action word. Then we have an, which is also a definite article. And amazing, again, tells us about the speech, which is a common noun. And amazing then becomes an adjective because it describes my speech. It tells me something about the speech. Okay, so now I want to show you quickly what does the questions in the exam look like when we get to parts of speech. So this is all questions coming from exam papers. So if we look at identify the part of speech of each of the underlined words in the following sentence. When you dance the reel, there has to be dust, says Shanae, a curvy 16-year-old reel dancer with a bubbly laugh. So here you can see that dance, obviously, I said, how do you want to find out if a verb is a verb? You ask yourself, can you do that action? Okay, so when you say, can you dance? Yes, you can dance. So automatically then, dance becomes my verb, okay? Dance is a verb. If we look at bubbly, laugh, what is laugh? Laugh is the name of something, okay? So laugh is a noun. So when I say she has a bubbly laugh, I'm describing the noun. So obviously, bubbly then obviously becomes a adjective, okay? And that is how you need to look at it and how you need to know it, okay? Then if you look at the next question, then it also says study the following sentence, state the part of speech of each of the underlined words. A is underlined and rainwater is underlined. And here we see that A is obviously an article and rainwater is a, here again, become a rainwater farmer. Farmer is my noun. So if farmer is my noun, I'm describing the farmer, okay? What kind of farmer it is. So therefore, rainwater is my adjective also again. I'm just going to write it down here quickly. Okay, so that is an adjective because it describes the noun. And in many cases, I don't want to say that all adjective stands in front of a noun because it's not 100%. Okay, sometimes you have an adjective and then there isn't a noun. Okay, so if I say she is happy, okay, it's an adjective, but there's no noun. Okay, Right. So let's look at the next question quickly. Study the, I gave you the question just so that you can see how differently they can ask the question. Okay. Study the following sentence. State the part of speech of each of the underlined words as used in the context of the sentence. So, and that is because remember sometimes you use a word, but when we say in the context, it means in the sentence. What does it mean in the sentence? Because in a different sentence, the same word might mean something else. So it's important that you focus on this part here. Okay, so when they say dogs are very protective of their owners, and here we have it, dogs. Okay, what is a dog? It is the name of a thing, so it is obviously a noun. Very protective of their owners, they would be a pronoun. Because remember, what is a pronoun? A pronoun stands in place of a noun. So this could have read also, dogs are very protective of dogs' owners. So I can repeat, if I put dog in there, but now because I don't want to put dog in there again, so repeating the word dog, I use a pronoun, and that is why we say that a pronoun stands in place of a noun. Okay, it replaces a noun. Okay, and just the last one there quickly, study the following statement. State the parts of speech of each of the underlined word. And here again, we have for, which is a preposition. Okay, it's a preposition, and planet, obviously a noun, because it's the name of something. Okay, and if you and I promise you, if you go through it like that, then it becomes easier, especially when you know your parts of speech and you know what it is that they do. Then it's easier to understand. So, and this we need to go through all the time. That's why I say the best way for us to know what we are talking about and to understand and to master our language, especially this. Remember, this counts 20 marks, the language section, okay, for question 5. So we're going to make sure that we go through this all the time, because if you go through lots of question papers, you'll see like there's a trend in the way they ask questions. So there'll always be a parts of speech question. There'll always be a tense question. There'll always be a punctuation question, direct and indirect, active and passive, and we're going to focus on all of that today. So our next one is our tenses. Okay, and I know people say, some kids say like, but we did tenses in grade 8 and they've forgotten about it. But tenses will always be there. Will always be there. So here, what I've done here, I've just given you an example of what the tense is all about, okay, what the tense is, okay, and then I've also given you the negative, because from here, I want to show you how easy it is to get your tag questions, okay. So if we first look at the simple present tense, okay, we know that remember the tense is all about the verb. It is the verb, okay, that we're looking at. The verb determines the tense, okay. So if we look at simple present tense, it means that an action is happening now, like now, okay, we stand in the class, okay, we stand in the class, or I stand in the class. So here's an example, he works, okay, and if I want to get my tag question, I first, and that is the trick, first try and put it in the negative form, okay? So in the simple present tense, I'm going to say, he works. But you're going to tell me, if I, for instance, say, he works, and I say, and the other example shows there that they work. Simple present tense. So simple present tense means that my verb has an S at the end when I have my subject is singular. When my subject is plural, I have no S. The S at the end does not mean that your verb is plural. Okay, it is actually a singular verb that has the S at the end. Okay, so don't get confused with that. So, like I said, let's do the negative of that sentence first. When I first say he works, the negative will be he does not work. Okay, that is the negative. So, from there, so you say he does not work, or you can have the contracted form where he says he doesn't work. Okay. So once you have that, you go back and you can do your tag, because your tag will then say, he works. Doesn't he? Because you've just identified that in the negative form. So first identify the negative form, and then you can identify your tag. Okay, let's look at another example. Let's go to the past continuous tense. Because remember, we have simple present tense, we have present continuous tense. What's important in those tenses, in the tenses, is that you know your verbs. So in the simple present tense, your verb will have an S at the end of the verb. If my subject is singular, like I just showed you, my subject is plural, I'll have no S. Okay, that's in the simple present. But in the present continuous tense, when you hear the word continuous, always make sure that your verb will have an ing at the end of it. And when your verb has an ing at the end of it, it must have a helping verb, either is, or are, or was, or were. Okay? So, present, continuous. Past, continuous. Okay? For past tense, I will use these two. For present tense, I will use these two. Singular, more than one. Okay? Singular, when my subject is singular. When my subject is plural, I use are. When my subject is singular, when my subject is plural, okay? And a tip quickly, if I can show you. If you write them all together like this, is and are, this is in the past tense, and then you also have the perfect tense, okay? Look at this. All of them end on an S, okay? And that will tell you that when your subject is singular, you will use these helping verbs in the continuous tense. Okay, so that's just a little tip that I wanted to show you. Right, so now we're still busy with our tenses and our tag and our negative form all in one. Okay, so let's look at the past continuous tense. What does it mean? An action took place in the past and it was continuing. Okay, so an example, she was sitting on the bench. Okay, that is the past continuous tense. Was, because my subject is singular. Then I will then go to the negative form. She was not, or she wasn't sitting on the bench. You're making it negative. So once you have that she was not or she wasn't, you can easily do your tag. Your tag question will then be, she was sitting on the bench. Wasn't she? Okay, you see how easy it is once you've had your negative. So you first identify your negative and then you will be able to identify your tag question. And then you can also go through the rest of it. I've shown you here. You have future tense, you have future continuous tense, we have the perfect, the present perfect tense. What does that tense mean? It just means that an action has occurred, okay, already at an indefinite time in the past, but it is linked to what is happening now. In other words, when I did something in the morning, and I'm talking about it now, it is already past, but it's still present, it's still linked to the present, and that is the present perfect. And for that, we'll use helping verbs, has and have, okay? And again, has for singular and have for plural. And here again, if we look at the example of a sentence, she has sat on the bench since this morning. Negative, she hasn't sat on the bench since this morning. Okay, so here we'll also, so the negative will be, she has sat on the bench since this morning, hasn't she? Okay, so that's why I say, you see how easy it becomes when you first do the negative and then go back. Okay, so you can read through them and go through them. I've given you examples of each of it, and you can see how we can use it in the exam questions. Look quickly. This is what the exam questions look like. Rewrite the following sentence in the future continuous tense. Some children will spend more than 4 hours playing with gadgets. This is in the simple future tense. We must write it in the future continuous tense. So we will say, some children, this will change because this is my verb. So we will say, will be spending. Okay. Change the following sentence into a tag question. That sounds bad. Let's do the negative quickly to check. That does not sound bad. So my tag question will be, that sounds bad, doesn't it? Okay? Rewrite the following sentence in the negative form when it is no. The students knew the answer. Negative. The students did not know the answer. Okay, so remember you're making it negative. You're saying it isn't that. Okay, then quickly the next question here. Complete the following tag questions. Write down only the missing word. He teaches economics. Doesn't he? Why? Because it's singular. One. So it will have doesn't. And then when we look at the next one quickly, simple future tense. The South African National Blood Service works hard to increase the number of donors. Now remember here again, I'm looking at my verb, which is in the simple present tense. So if I put it in the simple future tense, it will be will. The blood service will work hard to increase the number of donors. Okay, and then again it's a negative form, and the present continuous tense quickly for this one. Every leaf traps CO2. Then we're going to write, remember present continuous, we have continuous, so it must have an ing. Every leaf, one leaf, it's singular, so I will have the word is. So I will say, every leaf is trapping CO2. Okay, so if you go through the ones that I've given you, then you will see how easy it is to do that. Okay, so I then quickly want to run through our next little information. That is going to be another dreaded one, direct and indirect speech. This is the trick here. So when you change from the direct to the indirect speech, I divide my sentence up in two parts usually. I have a part 1 and I have a part 2. And in part 1, I take the part before the colon. I take that as part 1 and everything else after the colon as part 2. So in part 1, this is where it comes. This little verb here, okay, determines what you're going to do. This little verb, if this little verb is present tense, if it is says, if it is replies, if it is exclaims, okay, then you will only change your pronouns when you rewrite it in the indirect speech, okay? So nothing else changes, only your pronouns. So you will say, John says, and remember that because now we have to combine the two. So we have a joining word that always. Okay? John says that. It's no more my sister because I'm repeating what John said. I can't now go say, you know, John came to me and John says that my sister, it's not my sister, it was John's sister. So that is why I'm going to change my pronoun. John says that his sister is going to school tomorrow for the first time. Okay, I've only changed my pronoun. I've changed nothing else in that. Then when I change my verb into, when my verb is said, when my introductory verb is said, okay, then 3 things will have to change. My pronouns will have to change, my tense and my adverb will have to change. Okay, what does it change to? My tense usually goes 1 tense back into the past. So I will then say, John said that, my joining word obviously, his sister, because it's not mine, it was his sister is going, must change to was going. Okay, to school when? Not tomorrow, the following day or the next day. Okay, so it has changed. 3 things have changed, and that is how you need to, and that is how you determine. So it is this. Now remember, sometimes this introductory verb can be at the back or it can be in the middle, but you look at this. This determines what will happen, okay? Whether you must change or whether you change just the pronoun or whether you change the pronoun and the tense and also the adverbs. So just quickly, let's just quickly do one example as it will come in the exam. We say there, rewrite the following sentence in the reported speech. Ellis said, I used emojis yesterday. Here I see my verb is in the past tense, so I immediately know that 3 things will have to change. So I will say that Ellis said, don't forget that is always important, she had used emojis, because remember used is past tense. So when I go 1 back, I go to the perfect tense, okay? So Ella said that she had used emojis the day before, for yesterday, or the previous day, okay? So my three things have changed, and that's very important. So this will determine where you are, okay, what you must do. And then you can also go through the rest. So these are all questions taken from question papers of the exam, and also the answers is there. And I've also shown you where you'll get your answers. It counts 4 marks. So once you can have that, then you know you have that. So I hope you are with me, and next time we'll continue with some of our other language structures. Thank you, grade 12.